Ramesh, a middle-aged bus conductor, and Shankar, a cheerful bus driver, had been working together for 20 years on the same route. Their lives had become routine and predictable. Ramesh could recognize every passenger by face and name. He knew when they would get on, where they would sit, and when they would get off. Life was comfortable. It was simple. Everything was in its place. One day, however, a change arrived in the form of a passenger. A tall, muscular Pathan, around 6 feet 6 inches, with a broad build, stepped onto the bus. His presence was intimidating, and the moment he boarded, every eye on the bus turned to him. His white kurta pajama and brown turban gave him an air of authority, and the atmosphere on the bus shifted. Everyone could sense that something had changed. Ramesh, who was always calm and composed, felt his nerves twitch. He had seen all kinds of passengers over the years, but this man was different. As the bus rolled along its route, Ramesh, trying to maintain his usual routine, approached the Pathan with his ticket book. "Ticket, please?" he asked, though his voice trembled slightly. The Pathan, in a deep, firm voice, replied, "Pathan doesn't buy a ticket." Ramesh, taken aback and a bit embarrassed, stepped back. The other passengers looked on curiously, but didn't intervene. The moment had passed, and the bus continued its journey. Over the next few days, the same scene played out. The Pathan would board, and Ramesh would timidly ask him for a ticket, only to receive the same response. "Pathan doesn't buy a ticket." As time went by, Ramesh started to feel a shift in his confidence. He realized that he was no longer commanding the respect he once had. He felt humiliated, as if his authority as the bus conductor was being questioned. The fact that the Pathan refused to buy a ticket made him feel small and weak. Ramesh began to lose his confidence, especially when he saw how the passengers seemed to watch him with curiosity, as if they were silently judging his inability to control the situation. One day, overwhelmed with frustration, Ramesh confided in his old friend, Shankar. "I can't take it anymore," Ramesh said, his voice filled with frustration. "I'm taking 3 months off. I need to work on myself. Something's wrong inside, and I need to fix it." Shankar, concerned but supportive, nodded. "Do what you need to do, my friend," he said, though he didn't fully understand the depth of Ramesh's turmoil. Ramesh spent the next 3 months transforming himself. He joined a gym to get in better shape, signed up for self-defense and martial arts classes, and even attended personality development workshops. He worked hard, pushing himself each day, not just physically, but mentally. Every step was difficult, but Ramesh was determined to change. He wanted to build the confidence he had lost and become stronger, inside and out. When the 3 months were up, Ramesh returned to work. He was no longer the timid, unsure conductor. His body was stronger, his posture straighter, and his mind more focused. He felt a new energy within him. He wasn't just going to face the Pathan again, he was going to confront the weakness within himself. A few days after Ramesh's return, the Pathan boarded the bus once more. As usual, a hush fell over the bus. The passengers glanced at each other, waiting to see what would happen next. Ramesh, standing tall and confident now, walked over to the Pathan without hesitation. "Ticket, please," he said in a firm, steady voice, looking the Pathan directly in the eyes. The Pathan, as calm as ever, replied in his usual deep tone, "Pathan doesn't buy a ticket." But this time, Ramesh wasn't backing down. He crossed his arms and asked, "Why doesn't the Pathan buy a ticket? Everyone else does." The Pathan looked at him, a small smile playing on his lips. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small card. Handing it to Ramesh, he said, "Because I have an all-India government bus pass." That's why Patan doesn't buy a ticket. The bus fell silent. For a moment, Ramesh just stared at the card in his hand, confused. Then, it hit him. The tension he had built up in his mind, the anger and frustration, the feeling of being disrespected. It all seemed so insignificant now. The Pathan wasn't trying to undermine him. He was simply following the rules in his way. As Ramesh stood there, holding the All India government bus pass in his hand, everything became clear. The tension he had felt over the past days, the frustration and the feeling of inadequacy. None of it had been necessary. The story of Ramesh and the Pathan teaches us an important lesson. We often let small problems grow into massive ones in our minds, much bigger than they really are. Just like Ramesh, we sometimes imagine that challenges are insurmountable, even when they are easily solvable with a calm, clear mind. In truth, strength doesn't come from physical power alone. It comes from mental clarity and self-belief. When we face situations head-on, without letting fear or insecurity cloud our judgment, we realize that many of the obstacles we worry about are not as difficult as they seem. So remember, never think you are weak. The true measure of strength is in how we approach challenges with confidence, humility, and calm. And always remember, the problems in our minds are often much bigger than the ones in reality.